You know why I love traveling the United States of America? Well, while I'm on vacation here, I can eat fast food all day long and for weeks, and absolutely nobody cares. If you've ever taken a road trip around the United States, like me, then you've probably passed by all these little towns in the middle of nowhere that basically almost entirely consist of fast food restaurants. There's absolutely nothing interesting to see there, but Burger King, Taco Bell, Wendy's, Domino's Pizza, Jack in the Box, In-N-Out Burger, Pizza Hut and many other brands are basically right next to each other. And in almost every American city, you will of course also find the icon, the symbol of all American fast food restaurants and the brand I'd like to talk about today. In 1940, McDonald's was founded in California, and the international expansion of this fast food brand began about 20 years later. In 1971, the first McDonald's restaurant also opened in Europe, where I live. On the menu, besides ham and cheeseburgers, of course, the Big Mac. Maybe not the most tasty, but definitely one of the most famous burgers in the world. For many decades, those McDonald's restaurants all over the globe were basically the same. Of course, the menu was always slightly different in different countries, but if you saw one of those huge McDonald's signs, you always knew what to expect, right? Well, a few decades later, the situation actually is a little bit different. If you take a look especially at the McDonald's restaurants in Europe today, you will notice they look nothing like what you see here in the United States. You will see a lot of wood at the facades and inside the restaurant. You will find cozy seats there, just like in a cafe. It all looks a bit more modern and chilled and not really like a fast food restaurant anymore. And even more important, also the brand McDonald's looks different in Europe. The famous red and yellow design you see all over the United States and in many other countries of the world is gone. Instead, McDonald's is green. Have you ever wondered why this actually is? Well, I did a lot of times. And today it's finally time to have a closer look at this little fast food phenomenon. Why the heck is McDonald's green in Europe? And why the heck is it still red in the United States? Has it something to do with, I don't know, cultural differences? Or is there a bigger story behind it? Well, let's find out. Before we talk about the color choices of McDonald's, we need to understand brand design and also color choices in brand design first. And here it already gets interesting because if you take a look at all of those huge American fast food brands, you will notice they all have one thing in common. So here are a few logos of famous fast food brands, and what do we see? Yes, most of those logos are red. Or yellow, or red in combination with yellow. Jack in the Box, for example, is red. Nando's is red. KFC is red. Pizza Hut is red. Chipotle is red and dark red brown. Arby's is red. Dunkin' Donuts is red and pink. Burger King is red and yellow. The font is red, the burger is yellow. The arches of the McDonald's logo are yellow, as we know, and the background is red. With El Pollo Loco, it's the other way around. The background is yellow and the font is red. And only a very few brands look different. Subway, for example, is yellow and green. Taco Bell is blue and pink. And Domino's Pizza is blue and red. But most of the other fast food brands are either red or yellow and red. So, I was wondering, is there a reason why all of those huge American fast food brands use the color red in their logos and sometimes, or a lot of times actually, also in combination with the color yellow? Well, I asked somebody who should know that. Karen Holler. She lives in the UK and she's an expert of color and design psychology. She advises companies when it comes to brand design and especially color choices, and she also wrote a book about that, The Little Book of Color. And well, here's what Karen says.
So what colour psychology is, it relates to the study of how colour can influence how we think, feel and behave. All colours have positive and adverse traits. Language of colour is communicated quicker to the brain than words or shapes. They work directly with our feelings and with our emotions. We are having an emotional experience whether we realise it or not.
Yeah, and of course that's also the case when it comes to fast food brands and their design choices. The fact that most of those fast food logos look similar in color is no coincidence, says Karen Holler.
It's the combination of red and yellow. This combination gives feelings and behaviours in the context of this industry, makes it perfect for their target market, which is children. This is about speed and about quickness. It's about getting in, eating, out again. Red gets children excited. They can't sit still. And yellow is the colour that communicates happiness, friendliness, being greeted with a big cheery hello. Yellow is also the most visible colour in daylight, which is why it's a great colour to have on the McDonald's golden arches, especially on a highway or freeway, because you can see it from a distance.
What Karen says here is also supported by various studies. All of them found out that the color red has a stimulating effect, is exciting and associated with activity. Some also found out that the color red can increase your heart rate. A 2006 study in the journal Management Decision also found out that people can make 62% to 90% of their snap decisions about products based on color alone. This, however, doesn't necessarily mean that the color red also makes you hungry. There are actually studies that say exact the opposite. However, in the fast food sector, the color red, often in combination with yellow, seems to work quite perfectly. But as we have already seen, there are also a few unusual design choices in this sector, and that is especially the use of the color blue. For example, in the old Burger King logo, or at Domino's or Dairy Queen.
What is really interesting about using blue in the context of food, that we actually associate blue with poison. So it's quite interesting colour that they chose, because there is actually no blue food we eat. Even blueberries are purple. So the only blue food we eat might be Skittles, or not even food, but you'll see them in sweets and lollies and candy. That's when you'll see blue. Also, what is interesting in colour psychology, blue is said to suppress the appetite. So it's actually not an ideal colour to have around food.
Karen thinks that companies might have added the blue to their design to stand out a little bit from their competitors. Or what's also possible, the color blue also stands for trust. So it's some kind of a statement, like, this is our food, you can trust us.
A color that is not that popular in the fast food industry is, right, the color of green. There are only a few companies that use this color. For example, Starbucks, but Starbucks is not really a fast food brand, right? It's more like a coffee house brand, I would say. There's also Subway who uses this color, but Subway also has this claim, eat fresh. So fresh, green, green, fresh. I think there is a connection. But the color green in combination with fries and burgers and Coke and other unhealthy things, I really don't know. So why the heck is McDonald's green in Europe?
Well, the story of the design change started in the year 2009 in my home country, Germany, and in the neighboring country, Austria. And it also came with a few other changes. At that time, the company announced 3 bigger developments. First of all, from then on, many more McDonald's restaurants opened 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. At that time, only a fifth of the restaurants in Germany were permanently open. The second change, in the future, new McDonald's branches should all have a so-called Mac Cafe, something like an extra counter where you can buy cafe, cake, cookies and stuff like that. And the third and most important change, all new branches should get a completely new look. Dark green and brown with a lot of wood and cozy interior. And with this change, also the new logo was introduced. Instead of a red and yellow design, a dark green was used. McDonald's itself justified this change with some kind of a transformation of the company. The aim of the new design and new colors was to demonstrate sustainability and environmental protection. Quote, "With the new visual appearance, we also want to make clear our responsibility towards the preservation of natural resources. We will focus even more on this in the future," the vice president of McDonald's Germany said at that time. This image change of McDonald's was also visible in marketing and advertisement. Here's a TV commercial with the super fit and healthy German model Heidi Klum, who's eating not a burger, not fries, but a healthy salad in a McDonald's restaurant.
This marketing campaign led to a lot of discussions in Germany and Austria back in the day. Well, fast food in general is quite the opposite of sustainability and nature protection and health and things like that, and you don't make it any better with just changing your logo to green.
So at that time, there was a lot of criticism about this, and a lot of people claimed what McDonald's is doing here is just greenwashing. A big newspaper in Germany, for example, the Süddeutsche Zeitung, wrote in an opinion piece in 2010, "McDonald's new color scheme is a commitment to environmental protection. This is fundamentally praiseworthy. However, that alone is not enough. Anyone who is concerned about environmental protection must demonstrate that they use energy and other resources sparingly, for example, present a convincing concept. Proof that the fast food restaurant chain has so far failed to provide. Mountains of packaging waste are still produced every year. Tons of burger meat end up in the trash because it couldn't be sold quickly enough. Seen this way, McDonald's green coloring is nothing more than a marketing gimmick."
If you ask McDonald's today about their unusual color choices, they don't even talk about sustainability and nature protection and things like that anymore. This is what a spokeswoman wrote when I asked her about the design choices. It's quite interesting.
As part of a large-scale modernization of our restaurants, we installed a new exterior design in elegant wood tones, natural stone and muted colors, including green. This high-quality and attention-grabbing exterior design was a visible sign of a modern, contemporary, urban brand presence for McDonald's that was attractive to our young target group. In the course of this, we also adapted the background of the logo to the new design.
Well, and also Karen Holler thinks this design change is not just to show sustainability and environmental protection and things like that. She also thinks McDonald's wanted to address a completely new target group.
These stores that have green on the outside, these are the stores where you no longer have to rush. Here they want you to relax, they want you to get comfortable, they want you to linger over a coffee, linger over your meal. And again, if colours are about how you think, feel and behave, they're encouraging the behaviour for you to sit and relax. The target market for these stores are no longer children. What I think they've done here is that they want to attract back adults who used to go to McDonald's as children, no longer feel comfortable being in the red and yellow stores. As an adult, if you're wanting to sit and have a quiet cup of coffee or you want to sit for a while and not be rushed, you don't get that sense or you don't feel that you can do that in the red and yellow McDonald's.
Another theory that Karen has, perhaps McDonald's also wanted to lure customers away from other companies, especially from Starbucks. The coffeehouse brand only became popular in Europe in the early 2000s. Before that, Starbucks didn't even exist in Europe. And after more and more Starbucks branches opened, surprisingly, also the McDonald's restaurants changed their interior and the McDonald's logo became green. The interesting thing is, in the UK, where Karen lives, there is something like a two-color system for McDonald's. There are the green McDonald's restaurants in the city centers, but if you drive along a motorway, for example, there are still those old red McDonald's signs. You will also find some of them in other European countries, like in Finland, for example. Also, the McDonald's logo on the Austrian website is still red. Karen believes the company might try to address different target groups. For example, there are a lot of families on the motorways with children who respond much better to the color red, and in the urban cities it's just different and the color green is the better choice.
Okay, I think all of that explains quite good why McDonald's is green in Europe today. But to be honest, it still doesn't really answer the question why it's still red in the United States of America. And here the story gets a little bit complicated because, of course, I also contacted McDonald's USA with exactly this question. I wrote several emails, but obviously they don't want to talk about it. They never replied. So we have to find the answer ourselves. And from what we learned today, there are actually only a few possible explanations.
One of the most important things seems to be the target group. If you walk into a regular McDonald's store here in the USA, in fact, you will see a lot of families and children there. And you can also notice that people don't really go there to sit around and enjoy a burger. One time when I ate in one of those restaurants, I literally was the only guest while everybody else was just rushing in and rushing out and eating in their cars or at home. So a theory could be that the restaurant culture in Europe might be a different one. You sit around in restaurants and cafes much more often and longer than the American customer might do it, and also the target group might be a bit older in Europe than in the US. What also speaks for this theory of cultural differences and different target groups, you can also see those differences within the United States. When I went to New York, for example, the McDonald's in Chinatown looked like this: black and yellow. And this, for example, is a McDonald's restaurant in Winnetka. You might remember this town because I did a movie location tour there of Home Alone. And Winnetka is, by the way, one of the richest towns in the United States. And now look what the McDonald's restaurant looks like. It's not red and yellow and colorful. It looks high quality. Maybe because the target group at exactly this place just wants it like that.
Well, and besides that, I think we once again have to talk about this whole sustainability and health and nature protection thing. Let me show you something.
Das Ziel befindet sich auf der rechten Seite.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a typical American McDonald's meal I just ordered, a Big Mac meal. Let's take a look. Here we have the fries. Look at this. The funny thing about the fries, they are also red in Europe. Even though McDonald's is green in Europe, but the packaging of the fries is also red in Europe. Makes absolutely no sense to me, but yeah, that's how it is. Let's try some. They taste a bit different here, a little bit sandy, I would say. And there's also not so much salt on it. Here's the Big Mac. Ta-da! The packaging looks exactly the same like in Europe. It's also made of cardboard, I guess is the name. Okay, let's try it. Well, yeah, that tastes like a Big Mac. The standard Big Mac sauce tastes exactly the same. But what I actually wanted to talk about is this thing over here. And I'm not really sure if you know, but you could never buy a product like this at a McDonald's in Europe.
A few years ago, McDonald's started to ditch all their plastic packaging in Europe. Spoons are made of wood today, drinking cups are made of cardboard. This has something to do with EU laws that ban single-use plastic, but it has also something to do with marketing. Europeans are quite aware of climate change and its consequences. And McDonald's was always criticized as a company that produced a lot of waste and did not work sustainably. So in the past 10 to 15 years, the company did everything to change this image. There are posters hanging at train stations showing you that books allegedly can be recycled from McDonald's cups. And there's even an own website in Germany that tells you how McDonald's allegedly saves the planet with the help of wooden spoons and paper cups and stuff like that. McDonald's celebrates itself as a green company in Europe today. If that's really the case, is of course another matter. In the USA, however, this kind of marketing is obviously not necessary. There are studies that show that Americans take the consequences of climate change far less seriously than many Europeans. And according to a study by a committee of experts convened by the US Congress in 2021, the USA is also the largest producer of plastic waste in the world. In total, the United States produced around 42 million tons of plastic waste in 2016. That's twice as much as China and more than all European Union countries combined. And you can also see that in everyday life when you travel here in the United States. In supermarkets you get a plastic bag without asking. In restaurants you get plastic forks and plastic spoons that are also sealed in plastic. There seems to be no awareness at all that this behavior might be harmful to the environment. So why should McDonald's care about it? Consequently, not only the drinking cups are still made of plastic here, but also the lids on the ice cream, the spoons and several other products. And if you take a look at the McDonald's website in the USA, you have to search for a very long time to find any information about sustainability and stuff like that. On the German website, it's one of the first things you see on the front page. Of course, I wanted to know from McDonald's USA once again why they act so differently in the USA than in Europe. Once again, they did not respond within the deadline. If they still do, you can find their answers in the video description. However, the situation is quite similar when it comes to the topic of health. If you look at the product images on a European McDonald's website, they literally yell at you, "This is our sustainable produced food and it's fresh and healthy." For example, you will see large lettuce leaves on the burgers and huge tomatoes. On the USA websites, burgers just look like this. Like burgers from the 1980s. And salads, with which McDonald's has been aggressively advertising itself as a healthy company in Europe since the 2000s, are not even on the menu in the USA. Well, and all of those differences between Europe and the USA and European customers and American customers might also result in a decision about brand design and color choices. For example, if you use the color red or green. Also, Karen Haller says it is quite important to take a look at different countries and their mentalities when it comes to color choices. So, what do we learn? Well, McDonald's is not just a successful fast food company. It's also very clever when it comes to marketing and design decisions. They take a really close look at their markets, their behaviors, and they adapt their own brand design to those markets. And all of that, by the way, without changing any of their products. The Big Mac in the USA tastes exactly like it does in Europe. Doesn't matter if it looks red or green or feels a bit healthier or not. In the end, it's all just fast food. So, boys and girls, here we are back in the hotel. That was my story about McDonald's. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something. If you did, then please leave a thumbs up. You can also hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you won't miss any upcoming video. And if you'd like to support me and my work, you can also do that, for example, on Patreon. The link is in the description down below. Or you can become a channel member on my YouTube channel. Then we'll also get exclusive stuff and new videos before everyone else. So you should check that out. So that's it for today. I'm back in 2 weeks on this YouTube channel, then with a new filming location tour. So if you don't want to miss that, subscribe. And if not, then forget it. Have a safe journey. See you next time. Bye bye.